Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future homebuyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of homeownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC, DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. Lo-Fi Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent, License Lender, Broker Number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License Number MC 338923. Rhode Island License Lender, License Number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Welcome to Sports Talk with RNJ. I'm Steve Risser, along here with Justin and Alfredo. And Championship Week is this week, and we got to start with the Big East tournament. I mean, going into it, UConn is going to be the number 3 seed. It's not going to be as easy as last year going into the tournament, but the big question is going into this tournament. UConn's the 3 seed. They went, I think they went 14-6 in the league this year. The big question is going into this tournament. What are you? As we know, UConn won the Big East tournament over Marquette last year. What are UConn's chances to repeat? What are UConn's chances to repeat in the tournament? And I think outside of St. John's, they have the best chance to win this tournament. I think they do. I mean, I like their matchup with Villanova or Seton Hall. And if they win, I do like their matchup with Creighton. I think they beat Creighton at Creighton. I know they lost them earlier in the year, but they beat Creighton at Creighton. They're playing better right now. They've won 4 in a row. And their inside game, I think they've got an inside game. Terrence Reed has stepped up. Samson Johnson stepped up. So that has really helped them. So I think outside of St. John's, I think they do have the best chance of winning the Big East.
Yeah, I'd say they're second. I'm still a little worried with Creighton just because McDermott's on. I know they did finally get Omaha. They finally got that monkey off their back, but McDermott's was a great coach. And, I know the back-to-back, well, even I could with Maui team, but the totally different discussion. But, McDermott, is a tough matchup for him always, and he does a good job. So I think they could get Creighton. They'll have the home court edge, of course, but I would probably say as well they're second. They are playing better. You'd probably feel really, really good if they didn't lose to Seton Hall about a month ago. Then you're really feeling good about the team.
Yeah.
But there's also that little in your mind saying this team did somehow lose to Seton Hall. So, but yeah, the way they've looked of late, I would say they're second right now. In kind of the rankings here to win the conference tournament.
Yeah, I think they're second. I mean, but St. John's definitely got to be the favorite. I mean, they're going to be at home. And let me tell you, this year, that is going to be a home court advantage. Even if they play UConn, they've had 4 sellouts this year. That's going to be a home court advantage. I mean, I don't want to hear these UConn fans saying, "Oh, it's our house." No, this year it is their house. I know UConn's played really well in the Garden, but when they played during the year, St. John's beat them by 17 points. St. John's is playing; they're playing outstanding. They're now RJ Lewis is starting to shoot the 3, which makes them even more dangerous, not only in the Big East but going forward. They have hands down the best coach in college basketball. You can't tell me that any coach is better than Rick Pitino. Rick Pitino's clearly Dan Hurley might be the second best coach, but still he's clearly better. Rick Pitino's clearly better than him. They get the best coach in college basketball in Rick Pitino, so they definitely should be the favorites going to this tournament. But looking at this tournament and looking at teams that need to win games to get into the NCAA tournament, and the one team I look at is Xavier. Xavier right now the number 4 seed in the tournament. They play big game against Marquette tomorrow afternoon at the Garden. And then if they win, they'll probably play St. John's in the semifinals. The big question is, what does Xavier have to do to get into the tournament? Right now, they're one of Lenardi's first 4 in the NCAA tournament. What do they have to do to get in? We'll talk about it more when we do our in and out segment. But what do they have to do to get into the tournament? And for me, I think they absolutely have to beat Marquette. And then to assure, because we saw last year, we all thought when St. John's beat Seton Hall, they were going to get in, and they didn't. I think you got to meet Marquette and beat St. John's. If they can get to the final, I think Xavier is definitely in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I think for Xavier, for them, they can get to tomorrow. You're probably in really good shape. Now, you lose Friday, maybe like we saw last year, and there's 5 bid Steelers again. I don't think we're have that many. But maybe you're a little worried on Sunday. But if they obviously win on Friday, they're definitely in the field. They're playing really well late. But if they get tomorrow, I think they feel good. Now, and again, they could beat St. John's. They had a 17-point lead against them at the Garden. So there's been games where Xavier slipped up and had chances to win. But yeah, if they win tomorrow, they put themselves in a really good position. But yeah, if they could win Friday, you could 100% pencil them in.
Oh, absolutely. They win Friday, they're in. They're definitely in if they win Friday. But yeah, they definitely have to win them. I don't think they're getting in if they lose tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I would agree. It's probably not gonna be enough because they played well down the stretch, but like there really hasn't been many great wins in that stretch. Like, Providence at home, Butler, Creighton by 22 is your best one. It's so that's been they've beaten the bottom feeders, which you have to do. They've done a good job of that, but like there's not that like quad one win. I believe UConn moved up to the net 30. So that means Xavier's home win against them back in January just moved to a quad one today. So they did get one extra quad one win today, which will help. But yeah, the Korean win's a good one, but yeah, it's not, they could have gotten that one against St. John's, which would be huge. So Thursday tough, yeah, they'd probably be looking outside in on if they lose tomorrow.
So now predictions for the tournament, and for me and for the Big East, we'll do kind of the entire tournament. I think today, I think Butler advances. I think obviously Georgetown and Villanova advance, but tomorrow I think St. John's wins in the early session. I do think Marquette wins. Beats Xavier. So I think it's Marquette, St. John's, and then I think it's Creighton and UConn, and then I think St. John's because let me tell you, St. John's, these fans, they're going to have I'm hearing they're going to have a lot of fans in that building this weekend. And I think St. John's, they beat Marquette in a rematch of a game from last week. They beat Marquette. I think UConn beats Creighton. So I do think it's UConn. And we're going to get the dream matchup. Hurley Patino on Saturday night in the Garden. I think we get the dream matchup. And I think that St. John, but unfortunately, I think St. John's gets it done. I think they really, really, really want to win the Big East this year. They haven't been to the Big East final since 2000. They actually haven't won outside of this year. Before this year, they hadn't won the regular season outright in the Big East since '85. Since the year they got to the Final Four against Georgetown. So I think that St. John's wins the Big East, their first Big East title in 25 years. I think they win it. They beat UConn in the final. Justin, what's your prediction for the Big East tournament?
Yeah, I got St. John's over UConn as well. I just think St. John's a bad matchup for UConn. The way they could pressure the basketball with the length that St. John's has and could put on the UConn guard, which again you kind of saw what UConn was able to do last year with Castle and Newton. St. John's kind of due to UConn this year with the smaller guards that UConn has. So I just think it's a bad matchup, and I also think that I do kind of believe in the with Luke Carnesecca passing away in November, the first kind of year now without him. Again, you saw, John Thompson pass away in August of 2020. Then you saw what Georgetown does in the Big East tournament 2021, going on that run and win full. I kind of believe in some of the stuff like that, and I think it's going to be St. John's year, and I think Patino's going to get done. And I think they find a way to pull it out. I just think it's a bad matchup for UConn, and they're going to probably struggle. They're going to need St. John's to miss a lot of shots, and it's just possible. But I think St. John's finds a way to get it done.
Yeah, I agree. I think St. John's wins this tournament, but we both have St. John's and UConn in the final, and that leads to my next point. Is what would it mean for the Big East to have a UConn St. John's final? To have Dan Hurley, the two-time defending national champions, facing Rick Pitino and St. John's, who's had their best season in 40 years. What would that mean for the conference? Have those two teams play on Saturday night in the Garden, seeing what's happened, seeing the history of the conference, seeing what happened 12 years ago with the conference completely breaking up. And then this conference became, really these 7 Catholic schools, and then I think they added Xavier and Creighton, and they added Xavier and Creighton, and then there was some momentum that was built, with Villanova winning those national titles in 2016 and 2018. UConn definitely built momentum, getting into the league and then winning their 2 national titles. But what would it mean for this conference? I think it would be the best day for the Big East, best night for the Big East. They've had some good nights last year when UConn played St. John's in the semis. They had UConn Villanova 2 years ago in the semis. I was actually at both of those games. Those were some really good nights. But I think if you can get a Pitino-Hurley final, with the UConn being the 2-time defending national champions, Pitino leading St. John's their best season in 40 years, Saturday night at the Garden, that would be the best night the Big East has had since Syracuse-Georgetown semifinals in 2013. I think if you get a UConn St. John's final in the Big East tournament.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that because I'm actually going back on now at Kemp. I'm trying to figure out. I think the last time that we've had two, like, of the original Big East schools was like Nova Seton Hall in the finals in 2019, and that was like Seton Hall. Yeah,
Seton Hall.
but like
come on, Seton Hall's an original, but come on, they're not UConn or St. John's.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, and then the one before that was 18 was Nova Providence, so that was probably, but that's right kind of around Providence. So there hasn't been of late many of like the original Big East schools to play on Saturday night. It's been like Creighton or Marquette of late, so it would be huge, I think, for the conference. And I know the SEC is so great and all that this year, but there is something about the Garden still with these teams. The Big East Conference tournament atmosphere. I do think it's different than most other conference tournaments, even the power ones. That you get a St. John's who has kind of came on the scene very quickly this year, and the year that they've had, and the way Pitino has built that place up in 2 years, and a UConn team that's the defending Big East Conference champions and the 2-time defending national championships. You get that matchup Saturday night. It's going to be huge for the conference, and it should draw in massive numbers. I think the Big 12 may be going at the same time, but it should be a great. It should be great for the conference because hopefully it's a close game, but to get those two in it would definitely be huge for the conference because they're 2 old school teams, and it definitely have that old Garden like feel, especially the way St. John's will play. It's gonna feel like an old school 80s 90s Big East game.
Yeah, let me tell you, if this UConn St. John's, and I don't care whoever plays in the Big 12, the Big East will blow them out of the water. They'll blow them out of the water. I think they could outrate Cooper Flagg on Saturday night. I think they could outrate Cooper Flagg if he's in the ACC championship game on Saturday night. So it will blow the Big 12 out of the water if it's UConn St. John's in the final. So we'll see what happens there. But you mentioned the SEC. Speaking of them and their tournament, I think the big question going to the tournament, the SEC tournament, I think is with Auburn. And Auburn, we thought pretty much last week they were locked for the number one overall seed. Now they're going to get a number 1 seed. I don't care if they lose tomorrow. If they lose on Friday, they're going to get a number 1 seed. That's obvious. But the big question now is with Duke right, starting to get closer to them. Does Auburn have to win this tournament? Do they have to win this tournament to get the number 1 seed? And I'm going to say yes. Because I don't want to give it away, but it's hard for me to see Duke losing in the ACC tournament. So I'm going to say yes. And head to head, and it would be Duke having 3 losses and Auburn having 5 losses, and head to head, Duke beat Auburn. Duke beat Auburn head to head. So I would say yes. I think Auburn has to win the conference tournament for them to get the number 1 overall seed.
I don't think they do. I think as long as they get to Friday, if they get to Saturday, Sunday, if they just win 1, maybe even 2 games, Auburn does this week, because I got to look in the bracket. Ole Miss is probably Q1, and then obviously if they were to beat Tennessee, it's another quad 1. So 16 wins, I would believe they would have 16 Q1 wins on the year. And again, you probably lose to a Bama or Florida maybe on Sunday. I would think you'd have to give them the number 1 overall seed just because of the way they've been tested all year in the SEC. I just think I get Duke rolled through, but it's almost like the Gonzaga effect of like how they really haven't been challenged since. Because don't give me the Illinois game. Illinois is not good, so that game doesn't count. They haven't been challenged pretty much since the Auburn game. and don't give me North Carolina either. I didn't watch, but I was following. That just not surprised by that.
You'd rather watch the
North
small
Carolina
conferences outside of North Carolina, Duke?
Oh yeah, of course. I was watching the American East, had a couple good ones, the Northeast, Southern. I don't know if you saw that Southern Conference game Monday night. That
I
was
did.
a
Yeah, it was pretty
awesome basketball
Wofford
game.
game. Yeah, Wofford. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a great game Monday night. One of the better college games I've watched all year. So
Yeah.
I think Auburn deserves the number one overall seed. As long as they win one or two games in the tournament, SEC tournament here, they should get the number one overall seed. They've been majority of the best team all year.
Yeah. I mean, I disagree because I just think Duke would have more. They'd have two more. If Duke wins the ACC, they'd have two less losses, and they beat them. So I would say I would say Duke would get the number one overall seed.
Yeah, but I don't think Auburn would lose any ACC team. Duke did lose to Clemson.
Yeah,
So
I get it. Yeah.
that's a little bit of a, but no, I get it. It is Duke too. So there's, again, I wouldn't be shocked if Duke were to pass them. I just think the way Auburn's been tested in that SEC, I think as long as they win a game or two, they should be okay. I wouldn't be totally shocked, but I do think Auburn's the most deserving number one overall seed.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see. We'll talk a little bit more about the SEC tournament. And another question about the SEC tournament: which team on the bubble needs to make a run in this tournament? And for me, it's Texas. It's Texas. They got to make a run. I think they might have to win 3. They definitely have to win. They definitely have to win tonight against Vanderbilt. Or are they playing today? I think they're playing tonight. They definitely have to win tonight against Vanderbilt. They definitely have to. I think they definitely have to beat A&M. So I think they have to beat Vanderbilt and A&M. They got to win 2 games. They don't win 2 games. I don't think they get in. Justin, who's your bubble team? Oklahoma or Texas? Which one of those teams is it more important for them to make a run in this tournament?
I think I go to Texas because I think Oklahoma, Texas was like a playing game Saturday night. Texas goes down, and I think they need it now. I think Oklahoma with 19 losses in the SEC, I think they're gonna get in because remember on the team sheets that the community members get, they don't see the conference record. So most of these guys probably, I don't know how closely they actually follow, so they probably have no idea that OU went 5-12 or whatever they did, 6-12 in the conference. So,
so they don't even know how good they went in the conference. These people that pick these teams.
No, it's on the team sheet.
Wow.
So you'd have to go in and look, and I don't know if they would actually
crazy.
Do that.
The best conference, you don't know what their record is. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not on the team sheet as far as I know. It's not on the team sheet, so they'd have no clue unless they go in and dig for it. So I think Oklahoma's gonna be okay, but yeah, I have to go Texas. I think they probably do have to get to Saturday. They're only 17-14. They have it's gonna be a tough road, but Vandy's a good team, so maybe they get Vandy, but they get Vandy, they win, they get A&M, which is they did get them this year in Tennessee. So there's A&M and Tennessee are 2 teams that, hey, you shoot the lights out, maybe you could win it, but you can get past those 2. I think that would get them in, but I think they got to win at least 2 now, and maybe probably even 3.
Yeah, I would agree. I think 2 or 3 wins would get them in. Now tournament prediction, and it's going to surprise you a little bit with my prediction for this. I'm not gonna go with the obvious Alabama, Florida. Now I'm gonna have Florida, but I'm gonna go Tennessee. I think Lanier's gonna have a big tournament. I like Ziegler. I think they were kind of at home being in Nashville. I'm gonna go Florida over Tennessee in the final of the SEC tournament. Justin, who do you got in the final of the SEC tournament?
I got Buzz Williams, the Aggies, knocking off Florida.
Yeah.
I think Buzz usually goes on a run this tournament. Wade Taylor, could be a little hit and miss in time, but the way A&M plays, they kind of wear you down. I think they make enough shots. They out physical some teams. I like A&M, and I think Florida. The one we're at for Florida, if you remember, their big guy last year broke his ankle or his leg in the championship game. So I don't know if that's a little pause for Todd Golden, but they're definitely still going for a 1 seed right now. So I would think they kind of obviously do try to win this thing, get one of those 1 seeds. So I think it's a big weekend for them. But I like A&M here to get it done the SEC SEC tournament.
Yeah, and A&M they beat Auburn about a week ago at A&M. So when they were number 1 when they were like 27-2 and number 1, so A&M beat Auburn. So yeah, that would not surprise me. Now there's been a lot of talk about the SEC this year being the greatest conference one of the greatest conferences we've ever seen because they're going to have 13 teams make the tournament. And the question is this the greatest conference we've ever seen? Is this SEC conference, the greatest we've ever seen. Some that can compare to it are the Big Ten in 2011. But why I don't think it is the greatest conference we've ever seen, because I don't think anything's going to beat the Big East in 1985 when they sent three teams to the Final Four: Villanova, Georgetown, and St. John's. Villanova won it, and Syracuse. Don't forget, Syracuse is really good. They had Pearl Washington on that team, one of the greatest players in Big East history. So I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna go the Big East in 1985. Justin, you think this is the greatest college basketball conference of all time, the SEC this year?
No, I like how you brought the 85 point. I didn't even think about it. That's a good. I like that one. Yeah, the three Final Four teams there. And then the classic in the championship game as well there. So I I think they have to win a championship for it to be the greatest. And I think, yeah, they probably need like three Final Four teams. And I think the way, again, because they were so, I don't have the record off the top of my head, but they were so dominant in the non-conference that if, they should be able to roll, you would think. And I get maybe they banged each other around and, maybe they run out of gas, because I do think there's a little bit of effect if you play Sunday in those championship games. And you come back Thursday, it's a little bit tougher, especially if you play early Thursday. But if they get three Final Four teams in and one of which you would think one of them probably wins it, I would think it might have to be the greatest conference of all time. But I think, yeah, you probably need three to get there. And they've made great advances in basketball, the SEC has. But again, they've had one championship since 2010. That was Kentucky in 2012. Yeah. So they've been great, but now it's like, hey, it's the same thing with the Big Ten every year. Everyone says how great the Big Ten is, but they haven't won one in a quarter century. Like, come on, guys. If you're so great, win one of these. Big East won 10 of them.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it very easily could be the best conference of all time. But hey, finally get a championship other than Kentucky, which more than likely will be. So they've all stepped up their game. Now it's time to finally get it done in March.
Yep, exactly. You said it. You hit the nail on the head. Yeah, time to get it done in March for them. It was a great year for the conference, but yeah, they definitely have to step up in March. Now, moving on to the ACC tournament, and the big question going into this tournament is there's two. We'll start with North Carolina. To me, North Carolina right now on the bubble, one of Joe Lunardi's first four out. What do they need to do? What does North Carolina need to do to get into the tournament? And in my opinion, they got to beat Wake tomorrow. They got to beat Notre Dame, which they're beating them 17-8. They're up 17-8 right now on Notre Dame. So they got to beat Notre Dame. Obviously, they beat Notre Dame. They got to beat Wake, and I think they probably have to beat Duke on Friday night if they want to get into the NCAA tournament. Justin, I know you're not a North Carolina guy. You've been a North Carolina guy all year. What do they got to do to get to the NCAA tournament? What do they got to do in this tournament to get to the NCAAs?
For me, I would think they got to get all the way and beat Duke, so they have to beat them in the semifinals on Friday night. They need a set, and I still don't even know if in my opinion, because I don't look at blue blood. I don't work for CBS, so I don't care. It's because it's a TV show, as we know. No, I don't care. I don't work for CBS, so I don't care about North Carolina eyeballs in my tournament. So for me, I don't even know if they win Friday if it's enough, because I've watched them enough, and I don't think that's an NCAA tournament team. But
wow, if they don't win Friday, wow, they beat Duke.
I wouldn't.
They beat Duke. They're in. They beat Duke. They're in. Come on, they beat Duke. They're in.
I know they will be. But for me, I wouldn't put them. In my opinion, I wouldn't, because I don't think they're a tournament team. I just don't. It's the ACC is a mid-major. Ken Pom has them ranked closer to the Mountain West than they do the Big East this year. Like it's essentially a mid-major conference this year, and it's been that way the last couple of years. On paper, again, I said it last week. They've been on a nice run, but they've all been paper tigers. They got literally just like they lost by 17 at Duke the first time. That thing was a lot worse than 17. For whatever reason, Shire kept the starters in up 30, and then they kind of wore down, and North Carolina made a little run late. I think if they beat Duke Friday, they're in. But I think for me, they got to get the auto bid on Saturday night. But that's in my opinion. But Friday, they'll probably get in if they beat Duke.
Wow. So you're saying even if they win Friday night, they won't get in. Wow. You are very down on North Carolina. But the next question is about Duke. Seeing how bad the ACC is this year, and it's not been good. But they do have a couple good teams in there with Clemson and Louisville. Should we expect this to be the Duke Invitational? And I'm going to say no because I think Clemson's a good team. I think Hunter's a good player. I think they got a pretty good inside game. I think Louisville's got some good guards too. They've done a nice job turning that program around. I'm going to say no because I do think in the final they're going to get a game against Clemson or Louisville. I think they're going to get a game. So I'm going to say no. I don't think we should expect the Duke Invitational. Maybe tomorrow, maybe even on Friday night. Because Friday night you're going to get a North Carolina team too who's could be fighting for their season. So I think those last 2 rounds. I don't think we're going to get the Duke Invitational. I don't think I don't think it's going to be a complete shock if Duke doesn't win this tournament.
Yeah, it wouldn't be because I do think Clemson's a really good team. They're going to be everybody's darling to make a run. So I'll be honest, I'm probably not taking them to go on a run because everybody else will, and that cost me last year. But yeah, I think Clemson's going to give them or Louisville's going to give them a game here. I think Duke's obviously a very good team. They got a ton of length. They got their defense is phenomenal. Clemson got them at home there by 2, but Duke had a chance to win the basketball game late. Cooper kind of slipped because John Shire only knows how to drop in isolation for Cooper Flag, does a spin, but Cooper slipped. So
you are very
anti-John.
You are very anti-John Shire.
Oh, I am. He's doing as much as Coach K did the last 5 years of his career when he just sat there and did nothing. But hey, still the greatest of all time. I don't know. I don't know. But back to Duke there. I just, they're a really good team. It'll be the first time all year that 2 ACC teams meet when they're both in the AP top 25. So that's how bad the ACC's been. So they get either Louisville or Clemson. It'll be the first time they got 2 teams all year playing the top 25. But I think Duke wins a close one against either Clemson or Louisville. I like both those teams, especially because Louisville played Duke back in early December. So it's been a while. I could see Louisville keeping that one close as well. But yeah, I think Duke wins it, but I do think they'll get a game Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll move on to our prediction for the ACC tournament. And I think the final is Duke and Clemson. I think I'm taking Cooper Flag and Duke to beat Clemson. I think this could be the most chalk tournament out of all of them because the league isn't good. So I think this has potential to have the most chalk in the tournament. So I'm going to go Duke over Clemson in the final. I think there's just a very good chance we're going to get Duke and playing either Clemson or Louisville. I think we're going to get that, but I got Duke beating Clemson on Saturday night.
Yeah, I agree with you here. I got Duke beating Clemson. I think those are the 2 best teams. I like what Louisville's doing here now. They played pretty well all year. I think they played Clemson early too back in January. So it's been a while since those 2 teams have met. But yeah, I think Clemson does get there as well. I think they're a little bit better than Louisville. I love Clemson, all the seniors they got. I know Louisville's pretty older team as well, but I think Cooper Flag and Duke get it done against Clemson on Saturday night.
Yeah, I agree. I think so. I think Duke gets it done. I definitely think Duke gets it done Saturday night and wins another ACC title. Moving on to the Big 12 tournament. Moving on to the Big 12, and the big question to ask about the Big 12 tournament is Houston right now 27-4, one of Lenardi's number 1 seeds. One of those 4 is they're the 3rd ranked number 1 seed right now. And the big question for Houston going into this tournament is there any way they could, does Houston have to win the tournament to get the number 1 seed? Is there any way they could lose the number 1 seed in this tournament, lose the number 1 seed by not winning this tournament? I'm going to say no. I think they still get a number 1 seed. I think they still do. I don't think that Alabama's going to catch them. They have 3 less losses. I think Houston does get a number 1 seed in this tournament. I don't think Houston needs to win this tournament to get a number 1 seed because they're the number 2 team in the country right now.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think their work's pretty much done. I don't think they need to win this thing. Because more than likely, I think they beat either West Virginia or Colorado tomorrow. And you wait for how hot BYU has been. That's not I don't think because the other thing to remember too with the committee is now maybe this isn't totally the case for 1 seeds. They lock in the bracket by Friday. They're done. There's not much editing after Friday. I don't know. If you remember last year.
After Friday, I mean, there's games on Saturday and Sunday.
But they've even admitted they don't really care what happens Saturday and Sunday. They don't. Remember last year with Duquesne beating VCU on Sunday?
Yeah.
Duquesne should have been a 13, but they were too lazy to move things around, so they just threw them at 11. They never should have been 11. They were a 13. But the committee was so lazy, they didn't want to edit.
Wow.
So you do have – so there is that. Now, the one thing is this year, there is 5 new committee chair members, and there's one guy who's in a second year. So there's a lot of new members. So maybe things will be changing. So it could be very fascinating to see how what they put together here. But in the past, usually it's Friday. It's locked in. They're not really doing much adjustments.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Come on, you got to be working till Sunday at 5 o'clock to get this bracket right. Not on Friday. And then if a team misses the tournament, the coach could lose their job. So come on. And that's very lazy. The committee. These committees are not good. In football and basketball, these committees are highly questionable. These committees are highly questionable. But the next question is, which bubble team needs to make a run in this tournament? And think about the Big 12. There's not really a lot of teams on the bubble. It seems like most teams are secure. The 8 teams they have in are pretty securely in. The one team, maybe Baylor. I think Lombardi's first 4 buys. And I think all they pretty much have to do is if they beat Kansas State tonight, I think they're in.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Baylor's the one. West Virginia, 2, I think.
If they lose to Colorado, there could be a question because
it would help you count out a bit. It would help you count a little bit there.
I know,
But I think because I use brackets and matrix, it puts 100 and they got 115 brackets, all kind of. They average it all out, so that's usually what I use to look at my bracketology stuff. So majority, I think Baylor's on West Virginia on the 10 line, so I think they should be safe. So yeah, I think Baylor, as long as they win tonight, Texas Tech, that's a rivalry game. Maybe they get the Red Raiders tomorrow night, and that would definitely put them in. But yeah, as long as Baylor doesn't, Coleman Hawkins played awesome last night. He's starting to play better down the stretch.
Had 26 points, yeah.
Yeah, so Coleman Hawkins goes off tonight. Baylor could be in trouble, but as long as they get it done, I think they should be in, and that would also help you count out as Baylor could not lose a candidate state. Would be nice too, please.
Yes, exactly. So for the tournament prediction, what do you say?
Have you seen have you watched the Big 12 tournament game yet?
A little bit last night.
So you've seen that floor?
I've seen the floor, yeah.
That's worse than Oregon's over the court. I don't think I'll be able to watch another minute in the tournament. It is that bad. Wow, it's an eyesore. Wow, I can't stand it. I don't know if you had any thoughts that it's bad. The commissioner likes it. He's like,
your Mark likes it.
Publicity. Yeah, because he's getting publicity.
Oh wow, of course.
Yeah, but it's bad publicity. But
it is. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't get why he would like it, but yeah. I mean. But we'll see. We'll see if they can get publicity because of that. But prediction for the tournament, and yeah, I'm not going to go chalk here either. I'm not going to go chalk here. Just like in the SEC, I'm not going to go chalk. I am going to go Texas Tech. I really like McMullen. I really like JT Toppin. I like that team. I like their path to get there. They play Kansas or Arizona in the semi, and I like their path. I think Houston loses because I think they can get Iowa State, and I really like Iowa State. I really like their guard play. I like Momcilovic too, and Iowa State won the Big 12 last year. So I'm going to go Texas Tech over Iowa State in the Big 12 championship game.
I got Texas Tech there as well, but I got BYU winning the whole thing. I love the way
they're
playing.
BYU's playing. That's a good one because that's the thing. Yeah. Houston's going to have a tough game on Friday against BYU or Iowa State. That's going to be a good game from one of those 2 teams.
Yeah, and I think in the past, don't quote me on this, I think Calvin has said something about not really caring too much about the conference tournament. I believe he said, now again, if you remember last year too, with all the injuries and they lost some guys in the tournament as well, I could see him. We got bigger fish to fry here. They probably have the 1 seed locked in. Maybe again they want to win it, but they're not desperate to win it. So yeah, I could see BYU, Iowa State. I worry. My one word Iowa State right now is they look a little tired. I know they're getting some guys back, but they kind of look a little worn out. But hey, it's March now. You never know. But I love the way BYU's playing. They're knocking down the threes. And Texas Tech's finally healthy as well. And Grant McCaslam's an unbelievable coach. And if Rodney Terry when he does get fired, I think that might be Texas's first phone call. They poach another Texas Tech guy, but he's awesome. I've loved watching him at North Texas and best offensive team he's had. So I could see Texas Tech knocking off BYU, but the way BYU is playing, the momentum they have, I think they go to Kansas City this week and get it done.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. BYU is playing really, really well. BYU is playing real well. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I would definitely not be surprised they pulled that upset. Now we'll wrap up talking about before we get to in and out. We'll wrap up talking about the Big Ten tournament, and the big question over the Big Ten tournament. Is it Michigan State or the field? I'm definitely saying the field because I think Michigan State's good. but they're not that good. I think they're good, but they're not that good. I know they had they won the regular season by a couple games, but I think they're good, but they're not that good. And Maryland's playing really well.
Yeah, I like Maryland actually to win this thing. I'm with you. I think I like the field in this one as well. Jason Richardson's kid he's come on and he's made some shots the second half of the year. Um, he's been huge. I still don't trust him to shoot the three consistently enough to really fully trust him here. I know Izzo usually really cares about that tournament, but you know, I wouldn't be shocked if he makes a run because it's been a while since we've seen a Tom Izzo Final Four run. Maybe this is the year. I still don't fully trust him, but yeah, this week I think Maryland. I think Maryland's got the best shot to knock him off here. I know Wisconsin a bad loss to Penn State over the weekend, but maybe the way they could shoot, they could knock off Michigan State. So I'd take the field here as well.
Yeah, and which bubble team needs to make a run? I'm going to go Ohio State. I think Ohio State needs to win tonight. Obviously, they got to win. They got to win. They got to win tomorrow. They got to win. They beat Illinois, and then they got to beat. I think they got to win 3 games. They got to get to the semifinals to get it. They're one of Lenardi's last 4 out. They got to get to at least, to me, at least play Maryland. But I think they got to get to the semis to get into the tournament. Who's your team? Which bubble team do you think has got to make a run?
Yeah, I have Ohio State here as well. I think if they would have beaten Indiana on Saturday, I think that would have put them in. And you probably could have, I think maybe Indiana is the team inside looking out right now or outside looking in. But I think it is Ohio State. It's been a very Jacqueline Hyde type team. Illinois right now, they're a mess on the stretch. So you need to get that one tomorrow. You probably to feel safe need to get Maryland, but maybe if you play them close and tight, maybe it's enough. Not a ton of bid seals are out there, depending what the rest of the bubble, how that shakes out. But they definitely have to at least get the Friday. And tonight, they got to beat Iowa tonight. You got to beat Illinois tomorrow. The way Illinois kind of really come down toward the stretch, they've struggled. So Ohio State's been a weird team all year. You don't know what you're going to get out of them, but they better they got to win at least 2 here.
And now for our predictions for the tournament, I think we already gave away with Maryland. I got Maryland, and who I got them beating is I got them beating Wisconsin. I like Johnny Tanji. I got to beat Wisconsin in the final. Who do you got in the final?
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna go with two newer Big Ten teams. I got Maryland. I'm gonna go UCLA. Maryland knocking off UCLA. Go Mick Cronin.
Mick Corona's turned it around. He was calling out his team early in the year. It seems like he's turned it around a little bit.
Yeah, they fixed it out. Like their guard play. They still have Mick Cronin team a really defensive oriented team there, but I like their guard play and I love Maryland. I think their bigs there with Julian Reese and then one of the best freshmen in the country, Derek Queen. He's a beast on low. And Maryland, their guards, they get a lot out of their starters, but they can really shoot the basketball. Kevin Willard, might finally have a team here that could go on a run and maybe get to a Sweet 16. It'd be the first time quite a while. I think Maryland maybe been in the Sweet 16. So I like this Maryland team right now. They get it done. I think they've made the semis a couple times since joining the Big Ten, but they've never won it.
Yeah. I don't think they've ever won it. Yeah, it'd be the first time. Probably think Maryland got there probably since the Gary Williams years, maybe like 2002, 2003, 2002 they won it, but maybe like 2003. Probably the first time since then they got to a Sweet 16. So it's been a long time for Maryland. So no, I think 2010 when they had Grievous Vasquez and they lost to Michigan State. I think that'll be the last time they played the Sweet 16. 2010, I think.
Yeah, let's see. Actually, KenPom, I could probably pull it up pretty quickly here because they've had a couple. Round 6. Actually, 2016, Mark Trojan got there. Kansas beat them. Yeah, they got. Kansas, gotcha. They got lucky. They got South Dakota State and Hawaii upset Cal.
Gotcha.
So I didn't forget Trojan did get there one time, but gotcha. So it's been almost a decade for Maryland. I know that's a program that they want to kind of be up top and want to be a national title contender, but it's been a while for them. So I think Maryland is Kelvin Rule did a really nice job this year. So I think they finally get done. They get it. They go over top here in the Big Ten.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Should be an interesting championship week. But we're going to move on to the bubble teams. We do every year play a game of in or out with Justin. Justin will I'm going to name 9 teams, and Justin will tell you right now if they are in the tournament or they are out of the tournament. So we are going to start with the team that UConn beat in the 2023 national championship game. Brian Dutcher's squad, the Aztecs of San Diego State, 21-8. overall, 14-6 in the Mountain West. Justin, and they're one of Lenardi's first 4 buys. Justin, are the Aztecs in or out?
I agree with Nardi. I think they're in at the moment. Big wins against Creighton. They beat Houston, which is a really good win. Now they do own a quad 4 loss to UNLV. At home earlier this year. That could bite you, but their Nets 51 isn't great. The Mountain West tournament here, if they got Boise, which is again another team we're gonna get here soon. So that could really be a plain game for, especially for San Jose. If they win that game, I think they're probably in. They lose, they're probably a couple restless nights down there in San Diego.
We will move on to Oklahoma out of the SEC, 14th seed in the SEC tournament. But the SEC has been so good this year, they could get almost all that many. They could get that many teams, 14 out of 16 in the conference. But Oklahoma, 19-14 overall, 6-12 in the SEC. They got a big win over Texas on Saturday. Justin, Oklahoma, in or out? Lenardi has them as his first one of his first 4 in.
Yeah, I have them in as well here. Now because as I mentioned earlier, the team sheet does not have the conference record, so that's one thing. Again, the committee's not going to be looking at. They're not 45, which is bad. They got 6 quad 1 wins out, 10 of them 10 Q1 losses, and they do have a Q3 loss to LSU. Now, a new metric this year is win above bubble. That it's going to be on the team sheet. Now, Bartorvik has it on his site. It's not the same formula, but it's pretty similar. On Bartorvik, he's got him up 1.8. So that means that with Oklahoma's schedule, it's like an average of how many wins your bubble team would have on your schedule. In Oklahoma, to compare to another bubble team, has 1.8 wins more than your average bubble team. So I think that's going to be pretty, good for when it comes down to that. So I do have Oklahoma right now in. As long as they can win a game here in the SEC tournament, I think they're pretty safely in.
We got Indiana, 19-12 overall, 10-10 in the Big Ten. Another one of Lenardi's first 4 in. Justin, for you, in or out?
I have them in. I got to eat crow on this team, but their Nets 52 isn't great. But for me too, I like teams that are playing well down the stretch here. They did just get Ohio State on Saturday. They're 4-12 in quad 1, which isn't great. But I think the win against Ohio State on Saturday, that's like a playing game, and Mike Woodson finally started coaching after he stepped down. I don't know why he so they played a lot better down the stretch here. Maybe they slip up tomorrow. Maybe they're out, but I think they're in, and I see it very hard. The committee would leave out Indiana if they get like 20 wins. They would probably love to have Indiana. See, their goal would probably be to love that Indiana North Carolina on Tuesday night day.
Oh, yeah.
Tuesday or Wednesday day. That'd be raising bonanza for them. Yeah,
exactly.
Wouldn't be shocked if we see that as a Tuesday or Wednesday matchup in Dayton.
Yeah, if it's Indiana, North Carolina, I bet you probably won't watch because you'd be so ticked off at North Carolina being in.
Yeah, there'll be some NIT games that I'll probably be more likely to watch.
All righty, going to the Big East. Xavier, 21-10, 13-7. No, 21-10 overall, 13-7 in the Big East. We talked about Xavier a little bit earlier. They got a big game tomorrow against Marquette. Right now, Xavier, in or out? Joe Lenardi has them as one of his first 4 teams in. Do you have them in or out?
I have them in. I do have a couple outs, but I do have them in as well here. I like the way they're playing down the stretch. I know maybe not as many great wins here. They did blow out Creighton at home. They're not to 44. The loss against Cincy isn't great, but I do like teams that are starting to kind of peak here in February, and I think Xavier is now that Fremantle's finally healthy. Again, tomorrow's huge. Like if they lose tomorrow, it's probably gonna be a rough couple days for Xavier. But I think if they win tomorrow, I think they're pretty safe in the field, and that'd mean 5 Big East teams, which 2 months ago you would have taken for the way it looked early on.
Absolutely, without question. Alrighty, Ohio State. 17-14, 9-11 in the Big East. Now, despite the record, Lenardi actually has them as one of his first. I think it's one of his first 4 teams in. But for you, Ohio State right now, in or out of the NCAA tournament?
I have them out. The 17-14 record isn't pretty. I don't like that. I look at teams a couple wins over, like at least like 5 wins over 500 for me. Like only and they played a lot of Q1, Q2 games this year, but I think they got 9 Q1 wins, I believe it is. And this team's just been tough to figure out all year. I can't really get a great read on them. They did lose, or they did beat Texas like opening night, so that might help them if it comes down to those two. But they're not playing great. Like they've lost 4 of their last 6 down the stretch. So, and again, one of them was a 21-point loss against Northwestern. Like that's not great. And then you lose a big one to Indiana. So right now I have them. Out.
All righty. Boise State. This is Lenardi's first team out of the tournament. 22-9. I think 22-9 overall. 14-6 in the Mountain West. Justin, Boise State, in or out?
I have them. I'd put them as my last team in right now.
I kind of had a feeling you would have Ohio State out and Boise State in because you're more of a smaller like you're not a Power 5 guy. Like I feel like Lenardi's a little bit of a Power 5 guy having Ohio State over Boise State.
Yes, and I get why he's probably more Power 5. I'm rooting for a 2 big West. UC Irvine, UC San Diego. That's going to be unbelievable game Saturday night. I hope those two meet. But they get San Diego State, as I mentioned, on Thursday evening. That's going to be a good one. They're probably a playing game. But hey, Clemson. Credit to Clemson. They did go to Boise State, and Boise State did beat them. My one thing with Boise that's really going to cause them is they do have a Q4 loss to Boston College. That's might hurt them. But I like the way they're playing down the stretch. They got a nice win against New Mexico, another team on the bubble. They did just lose to Colorado State at the end of the year. But I do think, I would put Boise State right now as like, I probably have them as like my last team in.
Yeah, that does make sense. Seeing the record, they actually have a better record than Ohio State and a better conference record, even though Ohio State plays in a much tougher conference. But yeah, that makes sense there. Now we know where you're going here. We'll talk about them. North Carolina, 20-12, 13-7 in the ACC. I know the answer to this question. Lenardi has them as one of his first 4 out. You probably do you have them as one of your first 4 out or like a next 4 out right now?
Next 4 out. I don't blue blood. I don't see blue blood bias.
I didn't even say the word in with you with North Carolina.
Yeah. Blue blood. Yeah, I put them as like I get it, like the next 4 out type deal here. Again, they're 1-11 against Q1. They have a Q3 loss. I just don't. I've seen this team enough. I just don't see this team being a tournament team, and especially in a bad ACC this year. Like I get it, they're 20-12. Same thing with Indiana. Like it's probably tough. Like I see the committee having a hard time leaving out a 21 North Carolina team, but it's a very bad league this year. And again, losses to Stanford ain't great. They lost the week, which isn't great. Pittsburgh just absolutely spiraled. That's not great. So I think they have to win it for me, but they just beat Duke Friday night. They'll get in. But like just having one Q1 win is not great. And this is North Carolina. This ain't Boise State or San Diego State where they don't have the opportunities. They've had 12 Q1 games. You can't tell me they can't have a couple more Q1s.
I know. Yeah, I agree with you right now. They are out. But as we said earlier, I think if they beat Duke on Friday, I think they're going to get in. Now moving on to Texas, and I think we know the answer kind of here. So I'll ask you this: 17-14, 6-12. Are they closer to the tournament? Would you say they're closer to the tournament than North Carolina, or further away from the tournament than North Carolina?
I put them a little bit closer. I probably have them as one of my first 4 out teams. I hate how they're spiraling right now. They've lost 4 or 5. They had a huge game against Oklahoma, and they've actually lost 7 of 9. They had a horrible non-con. They didn't get any big. I think their best win in the non-con may have been Syracuse, actually. Off the top of my head, I think it was Syracuse was their best non-con. Yeah. So that tells you all you need to know about their non-con schedule. They had a chance with UConn. They looked awful that night. They're 5-10 in Q1. And they're 3-5 in quad 2 isn't great. Now going back to wins above bubble, they are minus 0.9. So a bubble team would have one more win than Texas. According to the formula. So I have this team right now that's like one of my first 4 outs. They got to probably win at least 2 games here coming up the SEC tournament.
All right, to wrap it up, we'll do Colorado State and 22-9 overall, 16-4 in the Mountain West. Colorado State right now, in or out?
I have them in.
I had a feeling you'd have
I
Colorado
think,
State in too.
yeah, I have them in. Big game. They're 1-5 in Q1s. They're net 54. They just got a big win against Boise State last week. So that's huge. That's huge. They're 16-4 in a good league. They're gonna be dangerous. They could win it. They got to get Nick Q Clifford. He's averaging like 18.5 points a game. Could really make a name for himself. They get in the tournament next week. But this team's played pretty well down the stretch. Now they did lose to Riverside and Washington, which aren't great, and Colorado. There's a couple bad losses, but the way they played down the stretch here, they found wins. Against Utah State at home, they blew them out. Boise State was a nice win. San Diego State, they've gotten at home. So a couple of the bubble teams here in the Mountain West that they've gotten victories over. So I do have them in.
All righty, so that was in or out. So the teams that Justin has in are San Diego State, Oklahoma, Indiana, Xavier, and Colorado State. So we have five. So we have 5 of the 9 teams. So 5 of the 9. So pretty even. 5 out of the 9 you got in the tournament. So and 2 of them are not from Power 5 conference. There's no surprise there. And the one team that Lenardi had in from a Power 5, you don't have it in Ohio State, even though you kind of like them. You don't have Ohio State in the tournament. So we're gonna before we wrap up, we'll talk about the 4 number 1 seeds, and I think it's pretty obvious what the 3 of them will be: Duke, Auburn, Houston, and Houston, and then I think it's a battle between Florida and Alabama. And I'd say Alabama wins it, and Florida loses. Like in the semifinals, Alabama might have a shot, but I do think the fact that I picked Florida to win the tournament, I think my prediction is going to be: I think it's going to be Duke being the number 1 overall seed. Auburn to 2, Florida to 3, and I'll go Houston to 4 because I think Florida wins their tournament and Houston doesn't.
Yeah, for me, I'm going Auburn 1, Duke 2, Houston 3. For me, it's tough, and then I'll go Florida 4 because I have them losing the SEC final to A&M. So, I think because they get the farthest there, I could see Florida being the 4th team there. So that's my 4: Auburn, Duke, Houston, Florida. So just kind of flip flopping there with or no, but you kind of no, we do have the same 4, right? Just in different spots.
No, same 4 but in different spots. Yeah. So
Same 4,
Duke,
different
Auburn,
spots.
Houston, and Florida. Yep.
So that's what I'll go with there. The final top teats.
Yep, and we'll wrap up talking about a game that you were at last night, local game. Central played St. Francis in the NEC title game. They lost an ugly game, 45-43. But Justin was there. Justin, what were your thoughts on the game, and how disappointing is this for CCSU? Had a great year for the number 1 seed in the NEC. How disappointing is this for CCSU, and what was the atmosphere like last night? And thoughts on the game?
The atmosphere, it was unbelievable. And again, that's what makes these small conference tournaments great, especially when they're playing on home courts. They packed that thing in. There was over 3,000 people. They definitely oversold it because there's people sitting like in the stairwells or in the stairs, like in the aisles. So the student turnout was great. The St. Francis band was maybe the best band I've ever heard live. They had like 70, probably 80 kids in that in that band. They were unbelievable. It was an unbelievable atmosphere. It was one of the uglier basketball games I've ever watched. And offensively, yeah, that was a train wreck, and CCSU never made many adjustments here, but in that game. But yeah, for the game, for CCSU is disappointing. I believe they had 7 or 8 seniors. They had 4 of them in the starting lineup. They had 1 junior who might come back. You never know with the portal nowadays. They had a 14-game winning streak here too, which was a lot, or 15, I believe it was. It was the longest in the country. This was their year. So it's pretty disappointing. Again, I don't know what they got coming in for a freshman class. I don't know yet what they're doing in the portal, but it is disappointing because they were 90 spots better at Kent Palm than the 2nd place team, and they were about 110 points better than or 110 spots better than St. Francis was. So, and it was the St. Francis team that I think they blew out twice. So, you could see from the jump that they've never played in ESPN before. They probably haven't played. They sold out Saturday, so. But I think the nerves got to them, and they kind of played like a team that had everything to lose. Why St. Francis, they were the 3 seed, but they didn't really have much to lose. They were a 10.5 point dog in the game. And their coach did a pretty good job. He's maybe one of the calmest coaches I've ever seen on the sidelines, especially in that game. That guy, and you could see Soller sitting behind him, was very just very nervous energy from that team from the opening jump. So it was tough and it disappointing because I next year might be more of a rebuild for him.
Yeah, a tough loss for CCSU as they had a great year, but they failed to make the NCAA tournament. But that's going to wrap it up on sport. That's going to wrap it up on Sports Talk with RJ this week. For Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We will be back next week. We'll be back next week previewing the NCAA tournament and any NFL news that comes our way. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.